everybody. This is Sherry with Cards and More by Sherry. I'm bringing you a tag today for my monthly feature on my blog. This month we're doing either fall or Thanksgiving or thankful tags, and I decided to do a more thankful kind of spin on it. I'm using just my standard manila tag here, and I'm adding some ink with my Distress inks here. I'm using fossilized amber in the middle, and then I switched to Wild Honey, and I thought I'd have a little bit more difference in color here, but it didn't quite pan out that way, but it's okay. We're just going to roll with it. And just laying some color down, not really worried about how smooth it is, which is good, because for some reason I have trouble getting the Distress inks down smooth. I think it's just because I haven't worked with them quite enough. Here I'm going to add some peeled paint, which is a really nice kind of shabby chic green that is a nice complement to these amber type yellows that I've laid down. Again, just putting down some simple color, nothing too exciting. I will also put a link below in the description box to my blog if you would like to play along and add a tag to my link party. I post a theme the first Tuesday of every month, and then on the third Tuesday we put the Linky party up. And it's just for fun, just something to do, and I try to give you a theme to play with. Okay, now we're going to go on to the edge of the tag, and we're going to add some vintage photo to kind of give that a darker frame around there. Again, this is just a standard, I think it's a number 5 manila shipping tag. I got a whole box of them, I think, at Staples that I've been using up. All right, now I'm going to take this Tim Holtz stencil that his Rays. And what I'm going to try to do, and I don't quite get the effect that I want, I'm taking a baby wipe and I'm wiping through the stencil to pull up some of that color. And it didn't pull up quite as much as I wanted, so you'll see me go back here then with a Dylusions ink spray and spray over that to intensify that color somewhat, and I'm a little bit happier with that look. You see me spraying that on there, and then I take that stencil off over into one of my art books, journal books, and pat that off, because you certainly don't want to waste that ink if you don't have to. So I'm just gonna slap that down on a blank page and let that ink go down there so I can use that for something some other time. Giving this a little dry so that that ink stays where I want it to. And I'm much happier with the way that those rays show up. Then I'm going to take a scrap of watercolor paper and some Timber Brown Stays On ink, and I have a little cross image here that I'm going to stamp, and I flipped it over to stamp it on the smoother side so I would get a crisper image. Then I have another stamp that's actually a saying that says something like, so thankful for you, or something like that. All I want is the word thankful out of it. So I didn't care that my image didn't fit on my paper, obviously, because I'm just going to trim that out with scissors and just use that word thankful. Again, this is just on some scraps of watercolor paper that just literally happened to be laying on my table, so I just grabbed them and used them. Might as well, right? So we're trimming that up a little bit, and then we're going to trim the cross image up and then think about adding some color to those. And I'm surprised when this sprays out, because I thought I had the yellow in my hand, but I had the orange instead. These are some of the Dylusions ink sprays, but that's okay. I just went with it. I went with the yellow and the orange combination together, and then I just took my little word piece and just blotted it in my excess on my craft mat there. And then I'm going to come back with that vintage photo ink and just give that a little edge around both the image and the word piece. Where I was going with this was, instead of thinking about Thanksgiving, was thinking about things that I'm thankful for. And of course, with the cross, I am, of course, thankful for the sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross for me. So that's where I was going with this tag. Now I'm taking my Wink of Stella gold pen and just give a little bit of shimmer to that cross. Nothing in your face bling, just literally some shimmer, and you can see it just slightly there on the camera. I kept playing with this thinking, okay, these elements do not pop off this tag because they're not different enough color-wise. So I grabbed an old piece of dark green mulberry paper that I have in my stash that I've had forever, and I'm just taking my water pen and outlining it, and then as that water works on that mulberry paper, you just pull it away, and that's how you get those nice frayed edges around your piece of mulberry paper. You can cut it if you want a clean edge. I just happen to like that frayed edge, so I always use the water technique to cut it, if you will. Messing around with the edges, trying to get them all, you know, pretty, and playing around with it, I decided it's a little bit too big. It's covered up a little bit too much of that background, and you can't really see it, but on the right edge of that piece of mulberry paper, there's a very heavy fiber, and I don't like it. It kind of overpowers it, so I go back in and I make this just a little bit narrower and pull that excess off, and that was just enough that I could pull that heavy fiber piece off of there, and then I like how this shapes up a little bit better. That gives some dimension to the cross and makes it stand out from the background. Then I decided I wanted that edge darker on my tag itself, so I went back to that Timber Brown StazOn ink pad and brushed that across the edges of my tag to deepen that color. I know a lot of people say don't do this with your ink pad, but I did. I'm sorry. So if there's ink pad police out there, you're just going to have to come after me. Here I took some twine, and I had thought that I could wrap it around so that it echoed the rays of that stencil. But as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, A, I don't like it, and B, how on earth am I going to get these to stay where they're supposed to? So I completely abandoned ship on that idea and just took that twine and wrapped it around the center of the tag. And that just gave that a little bit more interest behind where that cross image is going to go. And I'm just futzing around trying to tie this stuff on the back in a knot. You would think it would not be that difficult, but you know, sometimes I think my fingers are possessed and are on someone else's body because they won't do what I want them to do. So anyway, here we have that just a little bit of twine tied around the middle. I'm going to take some double-sided tape to adhere the cross image to the mulberry paper, and then that's going to be stuck onto the tag with some 3D foam, some dimensional foam, sticky back foam, whatever you call it, pop dots, you know what I mean. And that's going to give it also good stick so that it'll hang on to that twine and give it a little bit of dimension as well. See? Foam tape. You knew what I meant. Just peel that off and stick that on there. Then I'm going to use some score tape on the back of the sentiment and attach that to the tag down at the bottom. I'm still thinking this tag looks too simple and there's not enough going on here, but you know, sometimes that's not a bad thing, and especially when you want the message or the sentiment to not be lost on all the technique and fluff that you might add to a tag. So I got that attached how I wanted it, and then I took a Pitt Big Brush pen. I think it's called Nougat or something. It's brown, basically, folks. What can I say? It's just brown. And I didn't want to wash this out by smudging it or anything. I wanted this to be a pretty definite shadow all the way around that word so that it would pop out a little bit more from the background. Here I'm taking some of that twine and an additional striped twine to make a tie on the top. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. Looks good. I can still see those rays in the background, and I'm happy with that. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I will link below the link to my blog if you'd like to play along. We do this every single month, do an altered tag with some sort of a theme, so come along and play. I hope you will. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.